Hello. Hello, everyone. This is interesting. I am managing to do technology. We'll see. I see people. Oh boy. Okay. So, yes, this is the first time I've done this myself. So, remember, I'm a traveler, not a Instagram live technology person. So, I'm doing the best I can. I also just realized I cannot do this on my computer. So 2 minute scramble to get a tripod. So here we are. All right. So just waiting. Let me see. I don't know if I have to accept people. All right. Just bear with us, everyone. So if you want, if you can type in the comment section, just say where you're coming in from. And I am coming at you from Kansas, my hometown. Hey, there's Ted.
Okay.
Alrighty. We did it. Okay. This
Yeah,
was
I had
the
to do this on my phone.
I know I found that out literally 2 minutes ago. So
We're in.
yes, we were here.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. It's in.
I won't question the many questions I have about Instagram, but we'll just leave it at that. So uh
Okay. Cool. Cool.
cool. Well, I guess
We're-
yeah, I know we got a few um other tech, um, let's just say there's others that are trying to join
mm,
that are not quite here yet, because it's one thing to join and then they would like to project it on the screen. So that's like two
okay.
layers, and I'm not there to assist, even though I don't know if I'd be much more helpful. But anyway, we're here. So I decided to change into my little geography shirt. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. So are you excited? Today is December 5th and the trip starts
yeah,
January.
it's yeah, a month and 10 days. So,
There you go.
yeah, officially the 15th of January next year, but we're coming up on yeah, a little over a month. So, still plenty of time to, get ready, but also like the countdown has begun. So,
Yeah. Cool. Does it feel
yeah.
different already from last time? We'll get into some of the details, just logistics that may have changed, but I mean, do you feel a different kind of approach to it going the second time?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just having done it once, there's not that like what's going to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, let me clarify that because obviously there is the curious part of it is wonder what's going to happen that, is serendipitous and that we didn't necessarily plan on happening. Of course, anything can change, but as far as just having done a trip, I've done two, so one in Mexico City, one in DC,
Yep.
and yeah, so definitely a lot of things that I know what to expect, but also I'm adding some different things. I've mixed things up a little bit,
Mm.
and yeah, we'll see. The final number of people who attend will really determine kind of how we move forward if we stick to what I published on the website, which is really, my suggestion on like what is some highlights of Mexico City that lend themselves more to curiosity, and also just some cool things that I enjoyed, and a few things that I'm curious about myself. If I didn't include some things on this trip that I haven't been to or haven't done myself, I think it would be not as interesting. And I want that to be part of every trip that I do, something that I've not done,
Hmm.
at least specifically, whether that's a restaurant that I haven't been to or a particular experience in a place. I think that adds to the curiosity factor and also the interest. I don't want to do the exact same thing all the time because then it loses that spark. So
Well, we'll talk a bit about why Mexico City. Is there something about it specifically that really um, endears itself to these types of trips and this whole concept of curiosity?
yeah, for me, I think the first time that I went to Mexico City, it was just such a captivating place. I mean, really anything in Mexico is amazing in my opinion, but Mexico City has that perfect balance of there's lots of tourist attractions and things that you can go see in a central area, but
Hmm.
around that and not too far from it are a lot of different neighborhoods, and that's where really I think Mexico City shines. Is its colonias, the different neighborhoods that are all pretty close and in close proximity to the main center. And of course, there's some other areas as well. But yeah, that's really, and it's very walkable, very accessible for public transportation. So a lot of those factors went into it.
Cool. Well, um, I'm guessing, I think probably the question you get the most is what makes a curiosity trip different from a traditional group tour?
Yeah, first of all, this is definitely not a tour because a tour is someone telling everybody all the historical information and kind of leading people through very specific places that are on a tight schedule, and we want to throw all of that out the window. Sure, we're going to have some events and some places that we will see and some timed events that we will have to kind of work around. But I
Hmm.
really wanted this to be more of a collaborative type of trip. Sure, I have some experience. I've been here. I travel a lot, but I really want this to be a peer to peer type of travel experience. I want to have that aspect of it, and I want people to be curious themselves and find things that maybe I wouldn't necessarily find. So I want this to be that type of trip. We will stop at some historical places, of course, but that is not, I'm not a guide. I don't have the background to tell you all the history about Mexico City or really anywhere, but I'm just curious and I love to travel. So that's the bottom line of that.
So who would you say this trip is designed for? Like what kind of traveler will get the most out of it?
Yeah, people that are really, are curious. They're open to exploring either a place they've never been before, maybe a place that they've heard about, but they just don't know enough about, or they're maybe a little bit intimidated to go by themselves. And they just want to go with someone who's been there, who knows, or with a group of people who are kind of in the same boat. And yeah, we have a variety of people from, I'd say, anywhere from 30s up to 70s. And we do walk a lot. So it's a very foot forward exploratory experience, but certainly a lot of transportation options as well.
Hmm. Well, maybe that steps a bit into stepping out of comfort zones. So what does that look like in this context? And like, how much do you kind of push people a bit to step out of that comfort zone and like really explore their curiosity?
Yeah, so we tend to start with some, with the group activities, and then at least I like to build in some free time that people that are maybe a little bit more used to traveling on their own can go out and explore. But really, I try to encourage people to just take that little tiny step. So, encouraging people to speak some Spanish, learn a few words of Spanish, transportation. We give a transportation card that's good for most public transportation in the city. So that encourages people to maybe just take a chance and ride the bus or the metro. Those are some kinds of things. Try some food that you've never tried before.
Mhm.
We're gonna all do it. I'll do it. We'll kind of do it together. If it's a little sketchy, there's some unusual foods that people might be a little freaked out about, but certainly it's not required. But it is one of those things that, hey, this is the chance to do something a little bit different,
Yeah.
and we'll do it together.
Neat. Can you think of an example, I guess mainly from the last time in Mexico City, maybe the one you did in Washington there too, but just examples of when people experience something new and unexpected on one of these trips, right? And the reaction to that and maybe some of their thoughts afterwards. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, we had several in Mexico City this year where we wanted to go to a place to try pulque, which is a fermented agave drink that's very popular in Mexico, specifically Mexico City. There's places called pulquerias. So I had mapped out one that was somewhat close to where we were going to go next. And when we got there, it was extremely packed and very loud music, very crowded. But we're there to experience the culture as well. So it's not just about trying the pulque, which was part of it, of course,
Hmm.
but we were like, okay, well, is everyone comfortable going in? There's that comfort level challenge, but it's also I want to make sure that no one's claustrophobic or something like that. But before we even went in, we had a local person came out and he saw us, a bunch of gringos standing outside of this very packed pulqueria.
Hmm.
And he kind of explained the situation and just said, yeah, everyone's having fun and we've been here for a while, so we decided to go in, and it was it was one of those experiences that sure the comfort zone was pushed a little bit because it was very crowded. We had to go to the back where there was a very, very little room, but
Yeah.
we got to witness regular Mexico City citizens having fun on a Friday night.
Hmm.
And this is what they do. This is a real experience. So we got to participate in that.
Nice.
And everyone was just smiling and cheersing us, and we had a great time.
Cool.
And it was a better sometimes, in the moment, yes, there's a little bit discomfort because of the crowded situation, but it's a good story. You were able to witness the culture, try the pulque, have all of those experiences, and then go ahead
Hmm.
and go to the next thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Excuse me.
do you feel your role then is, I kind of hesitate, I guess, to say guide, but maybe the facilitator, like, is to kind of gauge the pacing of the activities, because something like that, I mean, it's fun and it's kind of distinct for sure, but it might be very intense and exhausting or whatever it is, So is it your role as much as anything to kind of gauge, well, where people are at in their energy and what the best thing is to
Mhm.
do next to kind of capture some of that spontaneous feel and guide people that way?
Yeah, we definitely have to, and we did have a particular thing to get to,
Hmm.
and I'm not perfect, and we're kind of trying to do the best we can in the situation, in the moment, navigating things. But yeah, definitely want to kind of read the room. We weren't going to be planning to be there for very long, and
Yeah.
I definitely sensed in this particular situation that nobody was like, okay, we got to go.
Okay.
But if that was the case, I think, I would make accommodations for maybe individuals if somebody just wanted to step out and get some air or whatever like that. But that's just one example.
Hmm.
I probably will not be going back to that particular place again, knowing what I know. But at the same time, it's good that we had that experience because that was just part of what
Hmm.
travel is all about.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question because then, like, to what extent, when the idea is kind of curiosity and discovering things new, but then you discover things either on this trip or maybe other visits to Mexico City, and you're like, I really want to show the group this thing, an activity or a restaurant, whatever it is. So it's obviously not new to you, but is that still like showing the other people things that you've already experienced, that part of it?
Yeah, actually, that's kind of for me. Well, it can be both. So sometimes the experience that I go back to was either so enjoyable that I don't mind doing it again, like the chocolate workshop. We're going to do that again. Uh, I love chocolate. That was so much fun and interesting that I wouldn't have any problem doing that again, whether it was just me or with a group. But also, really just seeing how other people are interacting with it. I
Hmm.
always learn something new from other people, the combination of people together. And there's all these different, yeah, combinations of how people get together, what their experiences are, their reactions. Even someone who's done it before, maybe they'll discover something different.
Hmm.
Going to a market, markets always offer, you know, a variable experience anyway, because there's always stuff going on that could be different. There's different things to see, different things to try.
Yeah.
So those are good examples of that as well.
Hmm. So if there's people who come on the trip who've already been to Mexico City,
Mhm.
so maybe they know a place or a secret place or kind of off the beaten path, right? Is part of the structure that, it's open and it's flexible, that people on the tour can suggest options for others to go to. And even then, not that they all have to go, it's just, hey, or whatever, you just check out this restaurant, and if you guys want to organize something, we should do it, right? But that's
Mhm.
part of it too. It's not, in
Yeah.
other words, it's not all on your shoulders, really.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I certainly want to create, curate experiences and have, you know, a rough plan. We want to have that serendipitous outlet. But at the same time, if anyone is, you know, interested in a specific thing, maybe there's somebody that really wants to go to a particular place, or they know of something else, we're certainly open to that. And that actually makes it even better because it's something new to me. So that just increases that curiosity factor for me, which then mirrors back to everyone else.
Hmm.
And, you know, just because I've selected some things doesn't mean they're always going to be winners. um, and we had another example this year where we were walking from one place to another, and we had some time, so we decided to. It was kind of happy hour time, so there was a bar that looked interesting from the outside, so we all decided to go in, and it kind of was awful. But it was also one of those experiences that we bonded because we all agreed that it was just like, what's going, like, got our drinks wrong. Every single person, all of the drinks were wrong. We even talked to a local person there that they were asking us how it was, and somebody's like, oh well, like, got our drinks wrong, and there's like, yeah, this place sucks, but we still go here. So it was just funny to hear that from a local person, and then have that kind of that collective experience together, that hey, we tried something. It certainly was memorable in that there were a couple mishaps with that, but it was also kind of funny after the fact. So that's, again, that's part of travel. That's what makes travel
Yeah,
interesting and, you know, and curious, because otherwise you could just go to an all-inclusive and everything's predictable, everything is set ahead of time, and that's not how I prefer to travel, and that's not what I'm showing people. So
right.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, it's fun to practice some Spanish for sure, but are you ever in situations, of course, where you really have to speak Spanish? At least somebody on the group, but like, do you run into that situation?
I mean, it always helps to have better language skills wherever you are, but and my Spanish is not that bad. At least I can get by in Mexico City. Some other Spanish-speaking countries are a little bit more challenging, but I would say overall, especially nowadays, if there's any misunderstanding, someone usually does come in and speaks English, and if not,
Mm,
then there's translation. We haven't really
that's true.
had any. I've never had in any of my travels any significant issue where language has been a problem. Sure, you're not getting the depth of conversation ability to talk, you know, nuanced
Yeah.
topics, but you can communicate the basics, and people are pretty willing when, if you're trying to speak their language, you know, they get it, and we've not had any issues with that. So
Hmm. Okay. Um, how can the group connect ahead of time? Maybe they know each other to some extent already, but at least is there a way to communicate and start maybe talking about ideas and plans? And I'd love to go here, and we should think about that. To facilitate
mhm.
that ahead of time.
Yeah, so we have a WhatsApp group that
Yeah.
we put together for each group, and that everybody together. It's also a great place to post announcements and schedule changes because obviously, with this, there's bound to be some changes, and maybe
Mm.
some people are planning to do something different. So they may join us at a different time. So it's important to have a single place that everybody can communicate. And I've just found that WhatsApp is really the best way to do that,
Mm.
especially works well with notifications and traveling overseas. So that's what's worked well. And then people can, there's a couple different groups within that people can share other things, share photos. Um, there's the
Okay.
announcement groups. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yep, that's a great way to get people to connect ahead of time and uh,
Yeah.
kind of find out, where are you staying? Where are you staying? That sort of thing.
Yeah,
Excuse
that's
me.
true. Well, that's a good point. Then I want to get into some of the logistics then of both what you organize and provide and then what people need to sort out themselves. So just start with the dates again. It's January 15th through the 20th. So the 15th is a Thursday and it wraps up on a Tuesday. Now, all that being said, are people kind of expected to participate the entire time, or what if you only have, 3 or 4 days instead of,
Mhm.
I guess, six?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's of course encouraged for people to come early and stay later to explore more of Mexico City. There's always more to discover. I still have a lot of bucket list items on my Mexico City
Mm.
itinerary for, when I have time. But excuse me, but I do think I did try to design this with people that may not be able to take that full week basically off.
Right.
And it is over a US holiday weekend. Martin Luther King Day is that Monday. And what we're doing on Tuesday is there's not as much stuff planned for Tuesday. That's more if people are around. Here's an itinerary that we're planning to do,
Hmm.
and yet I tried to schedule things so that there's not anything major that people would feel too much FOMO if they couldn't go. Um, and we start late in the afternoon on that Thursday, just in case people have to fly early that day.
Hmm.
But yeah, certainly, I also try to say this is it's your trip. You've paid for it. You get to decide what you want to do and what you don't want to do, and nothing's required. Of course, I do encourage people to do, to step outside the comfort zone to try these things, but
Hmm.
there's no requirement. We had some people that definitely took time, the free time, and went and saw some other things, or they may have skipped a couple of the group activities in favor of going to see something else or maybe meeting up with a friend that lives there. So that's
Yeah. Okay.
perfectly acceptable. And actually, this is kind of what we're hoping to do. We want people
Yeah.
to feel comfortable a little bit in the discomfort of traveling solo, traveling maybe with one other person that they just met on the trip.
Mm.
Or maybe didn't know that well, to go off and do their own thing if they want. But if they don't want that, or if they'd rather just have company, or we're planning to do things during the free time as well.
Right.
So there's group activities that people can participate in or choose if they choose not to, but then we'll have free time. But at the same, that free time, the idea is, okay, well, I'm going to go here. Would anybody like to join me? If they
Yeah.
don't have anything to do, I don't want people to feel like they just have, a 4 hour block or 5 hour block of nothing to do.
Mm.
I'm going to keep things going. But if they need time to do something else or even just take a break and rest, they're welcome to do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of flexibility. Like I've got the itinerary here just as like a random day. Let's pick the Friday, January
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
16th. It says start with breakfast, save room for dessert because the day officially starts with the chocolate themed experience. And then the afternoon is when you have free time. So in this case, it's like sightseeing places near the historic center, or you can walk
Mm-hmm.
through the back streets of Roma Norte neighborhood. what I've noticed, I mean, at least here on the site, maybe people get a little more detail once they've signed up and all that, but there's no times. So, when you
Yeah.
say free time in the afternoon, I guess, like, who knows? Is
Mhm.
that lunch or
Yeah,
whatever?
that's
Flexible.
right. I definitely wanted to pick a start time for Thursday for the whole event. So that defines how people get there and kind of that. But the rest of the days, we will have a timed event, but I need to, I wanted to wait until it got a little closer to actually contact the La Rifa, the chocolate place, and organize that our time, and maybe their times are a little bit different. I also want to be flexible with kind of whatever we've been doing in the trip to not put specific times, because again that kind of takes away from the spirit of this trip, is
Mm.
to try
Yeah,
to move
rigid.
away from set rigid time frames.
Yeah.
Now we do have, I didn't specifically say it here, but basically that spectacular cultural phenomenon that's listed on the website, that's lucha libre. It's the Mexican wrestling,
Ah, yeah.
and that is going to be at a very specific time.
Mm.
So we will have to arrange the day so that we miss that. And then if we do the chocolate workshop, it will also be at a specific time. But I
Mhm.
really try to avoid those very specific times. There's another one with trying to see the sunset from the tall Torre Latino. And
Mm.
so obviously to get there for sunset, sunset is a very specific time. So planning ahead for, allowing time to get up there and settle for the sunset is another thing. But really try to mix that up and not set too many rigid times. The rest of it is mostly, we don't necessarily need reservations or plans ahead
Good.
of time.
So let's talk about what's included, and I'm thinking particularly with a handful of things here that need tickets and need a bit of
Mm-hmm.
planning. Is that included
Mm-hmm.
in your price, or at least are people clear that kind of how much and how to buy tickets that they
Mm-hmm.
need for certain things?
Yeah, free most things that need tickets to be pre-purchased are going to be provided. So the obviously the workshop is not, there's no tickets, but there's a reservations that's included. Lucha Libre, I will purchase the tickets and then hand out the individual seat assignments once we get those. I will give everyone a Metro card when we first meet, and they'll have that. Um, the tickets, yeah, I think the only thing, if we go to, I try not to put too many museums here because museums are so, some people could spend all day in a museum while others 15 minutes is enough. So
Yeah.
I don't want to, unless we have a very specific group that's like, oh yes, we love this museum. Okay, great, then we'll go there.
Hmm.
And so there might be something like that that would be not included, but certainly I'll be there unless they're going and doing it themselves. And then if they need any help, I can explain the
Yeah.
ticketing system. It's pretty straightforward for most things there to
Hmm.
get how to get tickets. But the transportation, because you have a card, it's just tap the card, and then if you need to refill it, it's also quite simple.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Neat. Um, yeah, that's an interesting point too. Like, if people during the trip, do people come to you and say, "I need help," to find my way here or there, to buy this ticket or to figure stuff out? Like, you're kind of playing the concierge, the travel planner role as much as all the other things too, right? In the moment.
Yes, and we've had that where some people wanted to go to another place and asked if there's like, how do I get there, the best way to get there, and everything is so specific to the situation. So if it's a time crunch, I might just, even myself, sometimes just get in an Uber, even though public transportation is available. Uh, for compared to most cities and probably most even other North American and European cities, transportation like Uber, shared taxis are fairly affordable there. So to save, 30 minutes, it might be better to just get on in an Uber if you have to get somewhere and back. But I will usually look at my apps and try to figure it out, just like I would be doing if I was going there myself,
Hmm.
and find the best route. How can I get there at this time or to arrive by a certain time, and I'll suggest them. Sometimes I know exactly where they want to go, and then I can just explain it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's usually, and then just trying to say, well, it's going to take about an hour to get there, and then you'll want to spend a couple hours. So that
Hmm.
gives them the sense of, well, maybe that's not enough time right now to do it. So they might do that, on another day, or
Sure.
decide not to. So yeah.
Okay. Um, let's talk about accommodation because it's not included in your price. But do you help people find accommodation or try to get everyone staying as close together as they can?
Yeah, so and I'll just address the accommodation thing because that's probably one of the biggest questions too,
Yeah.
because most group trips or things like this might include that. And I really thought about this, but I wanted to honor the various budget styles of the people who
Hmm.
travel. And it was the proof of concept happened this trip because we had people staying in hostels up to using points and miles to stay at a penthouse suite in a fancier hotel and
Yeah.
everything in between.
Hmm.
So what I do is I have a resources page that has suggested neighborhoods of places that are kind of in a central area near where we'll be meeting on a daily basis. We don't meet at the same place every day, but
Hmm.
most of the places we will have a starting point that's within 20 or so minutes walk of kind of a central area.
Yeah.
So I try to recommend different neighborhoods kind of based on, this neighborhood is for local, it's kind of got that local feel. Some people want that, right? They want to stay in
Hmm.
a place that feels like they're staying with the local people. There might be some homestays, some Airbnbs that have families and those types of situations. Other people are like, no, I want my own place.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of variations there, but there is a central area, which is another one of the reasons why I really like Mexico City is because it just has that. There's within 20 minutes of where we're staying, you
Hmm.
can pretty much get anywhere else, and you can easily meet, and that was pretty easy for most people to do. It does
Yeah.
take some walking sometimes, but it's a very walkable city.
What about communication? Do you recommend people get an eSIM to travel with their phone?
So that's an option. I find that a lot of carriers offer decent rates for Mexico just because there's a lot more tourism in Mexico than in some of the other places.
Sure.
Personally, I have T-Mobile, so they're pretty good about having that. I have an international plan,
Hmm.
but there are some eSIMs or SIM card options at the airport even, and I just kind of field questions based on what people. I think most people didn't have. I think they had already had a plan, or something. So I didn't have a lot of questions about that last time. But
Hmm.
but yeah,
Hmm.
definitely staying connected with WhatsApp and having that as a way to communicate is important. But yeah, sometimes during the day, you may not have the signal, or if you don't have the SIM. Some people didn't want to get a SIM for just 6 days, so um,
Sure.
they would just wait until they connected with Wi-Fi, and then they would download the message. And yeah. But as long as
Yeah.
we're all on the same page about what that situation is, then that
Well,
was
it's
not
just
not
it
a
when you got people splitting off in different places and going who knows where,
yeah.
right? And yet, we're all coming back together for dinner or something like that. Like,
Mm.
I guess I don't know. There's the worry, like, well, if people are held up, I mean, stuck in
Hmm.
something and delayed, then got to make sure you at least, well, maybe you at least as a coordinator,
Hmm.
like, hopefully you've got a way to keep in touch with people. Yeah. And food is an interesting one too. Like, do you encourage everyone to eat together and have dinner at least maybe together, or kind of play it by ear?
Yeah, I mean, we do have several group meals together, or even if they're not part of the official program, if we're going from point A to point B, we might just gather and all just gather together for a meal or a snack.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, if people are going off and doing their own thing, there's also recommendations that I can provide of places to go, just general areas that there'll be a lot of options. And I try to find places that at least have a decent array of options, like vegetarian. Vegan might be a little bit more, if I who was vegan, I would probably want to look into it a little bit more. But a few of the places that we've been to were there was a food, not a food court, but something like that, like a restaurant slash food court where there were
Yeah.
multiple different types of foods so that people could kind of just what they wanted without feeling they had to only have a particular type of food.
Hmm.
So that was the first day, for example.
Okay.
Uh,
What about health concerns? Do people need any kind of vaccination, or do you recommend them bringing what is it, the sterilizing tablets, for water, or anything like that? Is there any of the health stuff they should prepare for?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd say the biggest things are, I mean, you've probably heard don't drink the water. That applies.
Yeah.
There's definitely something in the water that you have to be careful about. Um, I would say also, if you want to be super cautious, be careful with eating vegetables, salad that are washed,
Yeah.
that aren't peeled. But I also like to recommend bringing activated charcoal tablets that you can
Okay.
take those with anything else, but that does tend to help. It's helped me absorb some of those toxins that may be there from. Um, well, I don't drink the water. I don't tend to eat. I usually ask, is this salad washed in purified water, that sort of thing. But also, I've traveled to a lot of places that I tend to have maybe a little bit more distance than some others. So I would always advise, like, just check with of course, check with your healthcare provider. I'm not an expert on that, but activated charcoal seems to really help. And also, with one thing I wanted to mention too is that Mexico City is fairly high in altitude.
Yeah.
So if you're prone to altitude sickness or just higher altitude sometimes causes headaches or just shortness of breath. And I think the last time I noticed it a little bit more, maybe there was a little bit more air pollution or something like that. That walking up a hill, I was a little bit more winded than maybe
Hmm.
time, but I didn't really find it to be too bad. But I should mention that because some people are super sensitive to altitude. So
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Yeah, as you point out here, Mexico City is 7,350 feet, roughly 2,200 meters. So that's pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
What's the
you
weather
had
like at that
mentioned
time of year?
so it's actually a pretty good time. It's not beach weather, but it's I would say Fahrenheit. It's probably anywhere from 50s to 70s during the day. It can get up to mid 70s at night. It can get down to the upper 40s maybe at the coldest. And so you'll want to bring some layers to
Hmm.
be able to take off because once the heat of the day starts, it'll get warm. But that first morning in the morning, it's a little chilly, but not too bad. Um,
What do you
I
recommend?
forgot to mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, No, I was just going to say, back to the health stuff, you had mentioned about like water purification or I have a SteriPin, so it's like a UV
Okay.
um, that you stick in, and the ultraviolet rays kill the water. I mean, kill the bacteria,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's been a game changer for me. But there are lots of other water purification tablets. I would say most places that you stay are going to have filtered water or purified water,
Okay.
and pretty much it's easy to find bottled water. Of course, I'm trying to get people to bring their own, reusable bottles so that we're not contributing to all the plastic waste, but
Yeah, for sure.
they do have water there. Um, and so just would say don't drink it, don't brush your teeth in it, but you can bathe in it and it's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Um, and that's related in turn to packing. I mean, how much do you recommend people bring and try to travel as light as
mhm.
possible? What do you recommend?
Well, I'm definitely team carry on when it comes to packing. So I will, of course, I usually am traveling with my laptop, and if I have my GoPro and other electronics, so that's usually the heaviest and bulkiest stuff. But layers, a light jacket. The other thing to think about is where you're traveling from. When last year, I believe in the US, it was uncharacteristically cold and snowy. Even New Orleans got some blizzard. So when we were there, so you might have to think about more, bringing a coat, or just think about what you're going to have to go home to after this, because it is January. So if you're coming from Minnesota, of course you're used to the cold, but just keep that in mind. But
Hmm.
there I would say minimal as possible. Certainly don't bring anything fancy. Try to avoid bringing lots of jewelry, just basic stuff. And I think that's just a general travel rule, to be honest. But we're not really going anywhere uh, that's in a dangerous area the way the media portrays it. But it's still, we will be in some crowded places in the evening, at night. So just keep that
Yeah,
in mind. It's kind of common sense stuff, but if you're not familiar with that, then
sure.
yeah, I would say just minimal packing is always my my recommendation everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. We should talk a bit about travel insurance. What do you recommend people do for that?
Yeah, so I do require travel insurance. It's mainly to protect you because, I mean, especially nowadays with all the flight delays and all sorts of other issues, if it's flu season,
Yeah,
people get sick, and if something happens and you can't make it, then you're going to be out, not just the cost of the trip, but also your flights and anything else that you've pre-booked. So
mm,
I personally, because I travel so much, I have an annual policy that covers both me and Mark. But if you don't travel as much, or if you just want a single insurance policy, I always suggest checking out Insure My Trip.
mm,
Um, and I have Allianz. It's Allianz,
mhm.
and I've been using them for the annual plan for several years. I've had to use it and submit a claim, and they've paid back 100%. So so
Good.
far, I'm satisfied with them. But I would just say uh, I would not suggest getting the insurance when you check out, when you buy your flight, at the end of the flight, when they usually have that, would you like to add insurance to your flight? I would not suggest that, because that, even if it's Allianz, it's a different type, it's a different underwriting. So
Hmm.
the airlines, or wherever you bought your flight, which I always suggest use the airline,
Mm.
not a third party,
Oh, yeah.
they're not really looking to help you. You might be able to have some good luck with it, but most people I find, they don't really, they're not usually pleased if they ever have to use it.
Yeah.
but it is travel insurance, so um, you can find different kinds of travel insurance online that that's fairly affordable for a short trip or even
Yeah.
longer term. So
Hmm. Interesting. Okay. Well, is there a date for when ticket sales end? Is that coming out, or do you have a firm date in mind?
I try not to have a firm date. I mean, it would be best to kind of assume that the end of this year is the target date because then I'll have to start making plans and I will
Yeah.
have to make some reservations if it's a larger on the larger end of the group size, then I will need to look at venues for our meals. If it's a smaller end, then I have a little bit more flexibility, but either way, with any of the things like the lucha libre or the chocolate workshop, we'll
Hmm.
need to reserve that a little bit in advance to just make sure that we get our group in.
Right.
So but at the same time, if it doesn't hurt to ask.
Sure.
We did have a kind of a later edition this year, so it just so happened that we weren't full at the time. So
Hmm.
it doesn't hurt to ask. I'm trying to be flexible, especially since I'd love to be able to have a lot more people come, but the reality is if it's over 15, it can get a little difficult to manage. And also the experience becomes a little bit more diluted
Yeah.
for, the ratio of travelers to kind of what you're there to experience. So I prefer the smaller groups just because you can have more interaction on all levels. And
Yeah. Last
yeah,
year you had what, about 11 people, 11 or
yeah,
12?
11 total, yeah, including me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good
And that
number.
was a great number. So,
Oh.
so,
Hmm.
but yeah, just if there's any questions or if you're not sure, I'm gonna leave the website up, so it should
Yep.
be working. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah.
johnthetraveler.com. And let me see here, there's a button basically at the top, join us in Mexico City. So it's easy to find the landing page there with all the info. Lots of great info here on the page. And, you talk about food and culture, of course, and some of the history and some of the activities, what's included, what's not included. And we've gone over all that, here today, what's included, selected meals and beverage.
Mhm.
Uh, as you say, entry to special events, some ticketed experiences, public transport, um, the correspondence and all that kind of stuff is included. What's not included, of course, airfare, accommodation, insurance, meals and beverages, and the non-public transportation, your Ubers and stuff like that, and
Okay.
perhaps certainly certain ticketed things that people want to do on their own. So that gives people a sense of the scope here, and that's by design. Of course, it's not an all-inclusive trip. That's the whole point. People have a lot more flexibility as a result.
And
So,
if I should say too, if there's for whatever reason, if one of those events is not possible,
yeah.
then we'll try to make up for it in a different way. So actually, this year we were supposed to go to a particular place for dinner, and the way the day worked, that didn't end up happening because we had a late lunch and people were just tired and were kind of full. So it's like, okay, well, we'll just switch that out with something else. And
Hmm.
that was a situation where we didn't have reservations, we didn't need reservations, so it worked out perfectly. Um, but I will definitely keep and I should also added a couple things that weren't part of the plan. Just
Yeah.
I like to kind of throw in a couple surprises here and there just to see. We don't always want to have everything, but I do want people to understand kind of how to budget for the trip and how much they want to bring and to spend, because there's certainly some stuff that if we will go through some markets. There's of course no obligation to buy anything. I haven't. It's not like I to the vendors and I'm not. That's again why this is not a a tour. Hey, we're going to
Yeah.
check out this market. I like to check out markets because they're real places to go, but there's no obligation to buy anything. If you see something, great. That helps the local people, but it's totally voluntary, and as is everything. We try some pulque, we try the mezcal, but if you don't drink alcohol, there's other things to have. There's not any requirement to participate in that either. It is part of the culture, and that's why I included it. So, but
Yep.
certainly not required.
Okay. So yeah, people, what's the best way for people to reach out to you if they have questions and want to know any more? We've covered a lot, but they probably want to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reachable, here. You can always DM me. You can email me if you'd rather send an email. I'm curious@johnthetraveler.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, and always happy to entertain any questions, suggestions even. I mean, I've gotten someone from the last trip occasionally sends me some restaurant that they heard about in Mexico City, or like, oh, maybe you want to add this to your trip. And so it's always kind of that's fun because yeah, I don't know every single thing there is to know about Mexico City for sure. And
Yeah.
I love that is what this is all about. It's to get people to get curious, to look a little bit further than just, the whatever the Instagram algorithm told them to go to, or whatever influencer. That's not what this is about. We want to have a variety of experiences and have this be a contributory type of travel experience.
Mhm.
So, and I
Yeah,
should
neat.
also mention that, yeah, I am working on developing a kind of redeveloping my website to have a CuriosiTrips page, just to show, what's coming up, because eventually I'll be launching my DC trip for next year as
Yeah.
well. So, and the hope is that we'll have several more later on in 2026. So stay tuned for that. Can't make
You
it to
know,
Mexico City.
yeah, we talked before. You should totally come to Montreal and or Quebec City, but probably Montreal be first, which is lots of stuff to do and easy to get to. And I'll
For
meet you
sure.
there.
Yeah. And yeah, no, I would love it.
Yeah.
And it's been too long since I've been up to Canada, and Montreal has been way too long. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This whole thing,
So
it's such a neat concept. It's a nice blend of, again, a bit of organization for sure, but flexibility and the spontaneity, right? So people don't want to travel alone, but they don't want some totally scripted, guided group tour with 50 people. Like it's a really nice balance, nice compromise. So I can see you taking it for sure to different places all over, really.
yeah, I mean, I definitely have some ideas of going, at least maybe not curiosity trip in the same sense of how we've talked about it today, but
Hmm.
a type of curiosity trip where I'm going to a place for the first time. So if you want to come with me, we'll we'll both be the blind leading the blind in a positive way, because I have a way that I approach traveling to new places, and it's worked so far, 75 countries and counting. So we keep going and try to use technology to our benefit.
Yeah. Sure.
So yeah.
Hmm. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about this trip. Hopefully you can get some, good footage there, pictures, videos, and be fun to put a little compilation or something together. So keep that in mind yourself and your guests. But
Yeah.
yeah, look forward to hearing all about it and some of the stories, the things you discover.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Ted, for being the host here, and asking all the questions. And thank you, everyone, for attending. And yeah, certainly reach out to me if you're interested or curious
Yep.
about this, or really anything. A future trip idea that you might have. I mean, again, I really want this to be a community,
Hmm.
and I just think the world is filled with so many interesting places that we'll never live long enough to see everything. But
Hmm.
that doesn't mean we can't keep going to new places and having new experiences in places that we have been,
That's right.
because things change all the time.
Yep.
So
Yep.
And
Okay.
the biggest thing is just be curious. Be curious about everything. It helps.
Nice. Yeah, and that's a good place to do it. Cool. All right.
So,
Well, thanks very much. It was fun.
all right. Thank you.
Cheers.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Bye-bye.